Hi, I'm Elena of Financialdemics, where I give you the tips and tools to manage your money, increase your savings and your income, and decrease your debt. And today I'm actually answering a question that was sent to me. So here is the question that I received. I make a lot of money, but I spend it quickly. Are there any budgeting tips that you can give me? Which I think is an excellent question, just because that was part of my initial story. I was making good money, but I was spending it and ending the week before payday with only $20 to spare as a single mother. Not the best thing. And so I had to figure out how to budget in order to make sure that I felt financially secure and that we actually had some money to last us through payday. So the first tip that I would give you is, when you're creating a budget, really think about what the goal of your budget is. What do you want to achieve by budgeting? So initially, my budget was about financial security, and that is still one of the reasons why I budget today, but I also build other goals into my budget, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. So you may have that you want to save more money. You may have that you want to, save to do certain things. Maybe you want to leave your job. Maybe you want to just make sure that you get a month ahead. There are just so many different reasons why you may budget. And so just make sure that you have a goal for your budget so that you are always creating a budget that's going to encompass that goal you have in mind. The next budgeting tip that I want to give you is, it is okay to change the way you budget if the way that you originally started with does not work for you. So I am a zero-based budgeter. I need to zero-base budget because I know myself. That works for me, but that doesn't work for everyone. Some people may need to do a 50, 20, 30 budget. Some people may just need like a simple budget where they make sure the bills are taken care of. They put some money aside for spending, and then the rest they're free to do whatever they want to do with, and that helps them function, right? They function well in that. They still achieve their goals with that. You may also be a person who you don't get paid on a regular basis, and so maybe you get paid because you're a business owner. Maybe you pay yourself based off of when money is brought into the business, or either you're like on commission and it's not the same amount every time, and so you may have budget that way. And so you have to just pick the way that works for you, and do not feel bad about changing it up. Even one of the clients that I've worked with, having that budget like written down just didn't work for them. And what we did, which brings me into my next tip, is that we just basically came up with a number based off of what money they make every month, and we set up their bank accounts accordingly. So they have multiple bank accounts. One account is a bill account, and then the other account is just everything else account. As long as their bills is under a certain number and they know what that number is, because there is a buffer built into there, of course, then they are fine. They know they need to make an adjustment if anything changes, but as long as the money is in that bill account, they are not worried about it. And then everything else, they'll decide if, they want to save more for, trips or things like that. So speaking of those multiple bank accounts, you could use a separate account just for your bills alone, so that you are able to make sure that no matter what, those bills are taken care of. And then maybe have, a spending account just for, personal money or fun money. Have an account for your sinking funds, an account for your emergency fund, and then anything else that you feel like you need an account for. I actually am a big fan of having multiple bank accounts. I'll actually drop a video. It'll be in one of these places. I think it'll come up here, where I talk about my multiple bank accounts and how I use them. Another tip that I'll give you is to budget the money that you have a great chance of receiving. So if you're working, hopefully your employer is paying you on time, right? And so you typically know that you're going to receive this paycheck that is coming in. Sometimes that's a little bit harder as a business owner. A business owner may have to estimate based off of historically how they do during that time frame. But as an employee, you should know that you're going to get a check and approximately how much it is. Even when you're working like different hours, if you're a person who like works where you have a certain number of hours a week, at the most, I would probably just do some quick math, like, okay, I work this many hours, I'll get this gross, just estimating taxes wise, okay, this is the amount I expect to get, and keep it conservative to budget from there. But money that you're getting from other people per se, I probably would not budget. Now, when you get this extra money, you still need to budget it, right? It's just not money that's expected. So on your budget, you'll have a budget amount of 0, but then the actual amount will come in, and you will budget that money according to how you want to use it. But you're just not going to count on it to come in to make sure all the expenses are paid for the month. Pay the expenses based off of what you are making, and anything extra, you can apply it accordingly to either your goals or other things you want to take care of. Pay yourself first is the next tip. I'm going to say it because I always do. You should always account for savings in your budget, no matter if you're in a comfortable place or you're not. If it's not savings, maybe it's in investing, but you should always account for that in your budget no matter what. This is what you are doing for yourself, because you're paying everybody else, regardless of the fact if you are paying for your utilities or if you're debt free or you're paying your mortgage or if you're mortgage free, you still got to pay somebody. So, for us, Con Ed is still going to ask for their money, period, because they're like, we giving you lights. So you still have to pay someone. So you should also pay yourself so that you can build up your savings, build up your investments, so that you're able to live the life really that you want to live. And then also you can use that savings for other things. If you already have your emergency fund set, maybe you're investing more, maybe you're traveling more, but you can also use that money towards your goals. And that goes into my next tip, is to make sure that you do set aside money for your goals. A lot of times when people think of a budget, they're just like, okay, I'm going to put down my income, and then I'm going to put down my expenses, and then let the cards fall where they may. And no, your budget should include your goals. You should be putting aside money towards your goals, and that's why I mentioned investing and savings earlier. Your goal may be to pay off debt. Your goal may be to travel the world. Your goal may be to, buy a house, or it may be to start a certain business, or it's just so many different goals you have out there, maybe philanthropy or things like that. So you want to make sure that in your budget, you have a line for your goals, because truthfully, if you're not planning to achieve this goal, you are not going to be thinking about, oh, I need to put money towards that goal. Another thing you should do with your budget is leave a buffer. In the beginning, just depending on your situation, you may not be able to leave a buffer, but the goal is to build up to that buffer no matter how that happens. If you get some extra money somehow, if you get extra payday in the month, then build a buffer in your account. And the reason why you do that is because things happen and we don't know why, right? And so you can build a buffer in your budget also. So, for me, my buffer is $100. I like to at least have an extra $100 in the bill account, just in case something's higher than we expect it to be. Over time, because of always leaving that buffer, that buffer grows over time. But like my homeboy, his buffer is $500, and I was like, really? For me, that's a big buffer, but you know what? That's what makes him feel comfortable. So your buffer can be anywhere from $25. It could be less than $25. It can be even higher. It could just be a number that makes you feel comfortable, just in case there's an extra expense, just in case, a bill that you didn't expect to be so high was higher than you expected. So now you have some money set aside for it, where you don't necessarily have to pull it from another place. The next thing that I will mention is automation is your friend. And a lot of people do not like to automate, and that is okay. You don't have to automate. I like a little bit of automation. I don't have everything automated, but I do have some bills automated, and it just makes it so much easier for me to know that it runs and I do not have to click to send payment. It may not be something that you do immediately. It took me a while to get to the point to get comfortable with automation, but it does make things easier when you don't have to think about it and all you have to do is just make sure the money's there. I'm telling you from experience. And if you want to try automation, I wouldn't say try it with a larger bill unless you want to. I say start with something small that you can keep up with and see how you feel about it, and then you can start automating other bills. Another tip is for you to actually include your lifestyle expenses in your budget. So a lot of times, as I mentioned earlier, income, bills. But you should include your lifestyle expenses. So things that you like to do. If you like to, get your hair done, if you like to get your nails done or your feet done, if there's a hobby that costs money and you do it often, you want to include that. You just want to include the things that you know you're going to pay for. The reason why I say include it because it makes it a little bit easier when in the end you're looking at your numbers and you're trying to figure out like where is my money going? And truthfully, your money is probably going to lifestyle expenses. The things that you like to do. That includes grocery and food. Like food is a standard for me as far as groceries. Like you should have that in your budget no matter what. But if you eat out a lot, you need to include that in your budget. The next thing you should do when it comes to creating your budget and budgeting tips is always to keep in mind like special occasions. So like, holidays, any special events like weddings or anything like that, or birthdays or any trips, anything like that in mind so that you are prepared for it and it's not something that's just gonna throw you off. Because like Christmas is the same time every year. For the most part, most of the people you buy gifts for them every year. There may be, a few new friends here or there or things like that, but you buy gifts for those people every single year. Like their birthday is the same time every year. You want to make sure that you put that into your budget so that you can prepare for it, especially when it comes to like weddings and things like that. Gifts for weddings can be expensive, and so you want to make sure that you are preparing for it once you know that event is coming up and that you build it into your budget so it's not such a hassle for you. The next tip is to use tools. Some people like to budget with pen and paper, and that's fine. Some people like to use Excel or Google Sheets, and then some people like to use different apps. And so figure out which one works for you. Sometimes pen and paper might not be your thing. Or using Google Sheets or Excel, like I know people who you think of Excel, they're like, ooh, and because they feel that way about Excel, they definitely not using Google Sheets, which is so much easier. An app is the way to go for them. And so if there's a tool that can help you out and make it a lot easier for you to budget, then you definitely want to use those tools. And I'll drop a couple links below to different tools that you can possibly use that may be able to help you get your budgeting under control. The next tip is to reconcile your budget. A lot of people make budgets, but they never go back to look at the budget to see what actually happened and to see where there were areas where they may have spent more than they had planned or spent less than they had planned, and to help them decide what changes they need to make and adjustments they need to make in their budget. No matter how you budget, so I'm a big fan of budgeting by paycheck. So whenever you get a paycheck, you budget your money out, because I think you can adjust quicker that way to not have a completely bad month. But if you're a monthly budgeter, you can also reconcile. You already had your budget set. What actually happened? Did you receive that $2,000 in income or $3,000, whatever your income is, right? How much did you receive? What is the difference? Was your power bill really, $50 or was it $100? You're looking at your budget to see what the difference is in your budget, where you should have extra money. And if you don't, then you're looking to see, okay, what happened this month? Did I spend more for this item? Should I add this item to my budget, or was it a one-time occurrence? Can I plan for this later and maybe save for this or develop a sinking fund for it? Or even is it like it shouldn't happen again. It's a rare occurrence, so I'm not going to add it to my budget. We just got to adjust somewhere else. Make sure that you are reconciling your budget either when you're getting your next paycheck or either at the end of the month, and make adjustments. If you need to make adjustments, it's okay. Nobody's going to be mad that you're making adjustments. That's the way that you make your budget better for you and your lifestyle. The last tip that I have for you is to realize you're not going to be perfect. I think I've said this tip in almost every single budget video I've ever done. It's not going to be perfect, especially at the beginning. And truthfully, it may never be perfect. And you know why? Because you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. Anytime like you're starting a budget, like give it 3 to 4 times to kind of get into a good cadence with it, because sometimes you just forget stuff. You're like, oh shoot, I forgot I paid for that. Anytime you add stuff to your budget, it also may be things that you forget to add. Just know that it's not necessarily going to be perfect, but it is going to give you a really good plan so that you can achieve the goal that you really want to achieve. And actually, one bonus tip while I'm thinking about that, because I know I forgot to mention it, is make sure you build personal spending and fun into your budget. A budget can be used for good things. The whole goal of your budget is to get you to a certain place, and that's really a good thing for you, right? You really want to be in this place. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make you feel better about life. It's going to make you feel secure. It's going to help you reach a tick mark or a check off or your bucket list or whatever. So it can be used for good things. It's not all negative of what you can't spend. It's really, the freedom to spend according to how you plan to do. If you like this video and if it was helpful for you, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so it can get out to more people and help them also. If you are new here and you like what I'm talking about, go ahead and subscribe, because you don't watch it this far. Go ahead and subscribe. I'm always talking about the basics of personal finance and helping you get to a place in life where you're reaching all of your financial goals. And if you're trying to learn more about getting your budget together, go ahead and check out this video right here. I just realized the window's open. Hopefully y'all don't hear all that background noise. I'll try to edit it out, but I ain't re-recording.